Hello, good morning. Uh, Today's presentation for 2017 batch ENT class, morning class is facial nerve anatomy. Before starting, I just want to say that please take precaution for the COVID infection at home, and please inform your family member and your neighboring people to take precaution against it. So, beginning with the facial nerve. So, this is a seventh cranial nerve, and this is second largest cranial nerve after the vagus nerve in terms of its distribution, and it innervates the muscle of the facial expression, which is very important, and it's embryologically related to the second branchial arch derivative. So, it innervates the muscle which arise from the second branchial arch, and it is related to the cartilage of the second cartilage, whichever derivatives are there. And it is, if you describe this one, this nerve is a mixed nerve. Mixed nerve means it has a motor component, as it innervates the muscle of the facial expression, stapedial muscle, posterior belly of digastric, and one more muscle. Secondly, which is called at special viscerin efferent. Second component is parasympathetic secretory, which is called general visceral efferent, and this is secretory to the lacrimal gland as well as the submandibular gland. And third component of this nerve is spatial visceral efferent. It carries taste sensation from anterior 2/3 of tongue to chorda tympani now. And fourth component is general somatic efferent, which is sensory. It carries the sensation from the auricle and part of the posterior canal wall of the external canal. So, this diagram is describing the general depiction of the facial nerve. So, as we have already described, this is one of the second largest nerve. It has a nuclear part, supranuclear part, which is located in the cerebral cortex, and each side has bilateral innervation, means it receives 1/3 component from the same side ipsilateral, but majority is from the contralateral side. And the nucleus is located in the brainstem, lower part of brain pons, and largest of them is the motor nucleus of the facial nerve. And it, after originating, it turns around the sixth cranial nerve, and then it exits to cerebropontine angle, enters into the temporal bone, and exits to stylomuscular foramen, and innervates the muscle of the facial expression, as well as posterior belly of digastric and stapedial muscle in the temporal part. Second part, nucleus part, are the lacrimal and lacrimal, like for the lacrimation, we call it lacrimal nucleus, and this, along with the superior salivary nucleus, it innervates, it joins the facial nerve, and then after that it relays into pterygopalatine ganglion, and through there it innervates the lacrimal gland and controls the lacrimation. Also, it controls the secretory part of the nasal cavity. And third component, which carries the sensation, is from, and it comes and then it goes into the nucleus solitarius. So, we have four different components, and they originate differently, but after that they fuse together, except your parasympathetic part and the sensory part, which goes in the nervus intermedius, and then it enters into the temporal bone, and it runs in the fallopian canal, exits to the stylomuscular foramen, and then enter into the parotid gland. Now, when we are describing about the course of the facial nerve, it has three parts. The first part is the intracranial part. Second is the intratemporal part, which we as the ENT are dealing with the root as well as the lesion of the intratemporal part, and then it exits to the stylomuscular foramen and starts extracranial or extratemporal part. So, first, regarding the intracranial part, this has a total length of approximately 24 millimeter, and it has sensory, it has motor and as well as parasympathetic roots. And then already, as I have described, the nucleus part is located in the brainstem, lower part of pons. The largest of them is the motor nucleus, and then fiber originating from here, they curves around the abducent nerve, and then it exits to the cerebropontine part, and then enter into the internal auditory meatus and then intertemporal part. And then these are accompanied by lacrimal nucleus, which is situated adjacent to it, and then it supplies your lacrimal nerve. And similarly, we have secretory motor fiber to the submandibular ganglion as well as the sensory innervation. So, if there is any lesion here in the nuclear part, this is usually accompanied by lesion of the sixth nerve also. So, this is the one important thing. Now, supranuclear part. So, these nuclei, they receive innervation from the both side of the supranuclear part. And if you see from the cerebral cortex, this is the cerebral cortex, and the area represented by the facial structures like brow, eyelid, and it has a very large representation in the cerebral cortex. And after or originating from here, they go downward, and through the internal capsule, they innervate the nuclear, join the nucleus. And important thing about this, as I already told, is bilateral innervation. It receives from some like maybe 1/3 majority from the ipsilateral side, but majority is from the contralateral side. So, if there is any lesion in the supranuclear part, there will be, because of bilateral innervation, there is a sparing of the forehead muscle. So, that this is the importance of this part. So, after exiting from the cerebropontine angle, these facial nerve, it has, as I told you, it has a motor component. This one is the motor one, the larger and thicker, as is accompanied by sensory and secretory motor, which is nervus intermedius. So, they are initially they are traveling separate, but they join as this nerve exit from the stylomastoid from the internal auditory meatus. So, this internal auditory meatus, it has a very small length, less than 1 centimeter, and the diameter of this canal is around 4 millimeter. And here these are accompanied by other nerve like vestibulocochlear nerve and some branches from the anterior inferior cerebral artery. And if we think of the representation of the nerve in this internal auditory canal, it has a specific presentation which we can see in the diagram. This canal is divided into superior and inferior part by falciform crest, and superior part is further divided by Bill's bar, which is a bony projection coming from superior. It divides into two parts, anterior and posterior part. In anterior superior part of this canal, we can see the facial nerve, motor component, as well as the nervus intermedius is there. And in the posterior part, we have the superior division of vestibulocochlear nerve, and inferior part we have inferior division of vestibulocochlear nerve along with the cingulate nerve. So, if any lesion is which will be like tumor, infection, or any abnormal vessel, is usually accompanied by the lesion to the other vestibulocochlear nerve. Now, the second part of facial nerve is within the temporal bone, and this is here we are as ENT people, we are dealing with any lesion, and we have to be very well versed about the course of the facial nerve, because sometimes it can have a variation, and the total length of this segment is 26 millimeter, and the whole of this part is within a one bony canal, which we call it fallopian canal. It starts at the lateral part of the internal auditory meatus and then ends at the stylomastoid foramen. And this bony canal is for the protection of the facial nerve, and the further division of this intertemporal part is into labyrinthine segment, horizontal segment, and the vertical segment. Three divisions are there. So, first part is the labyrinthine segment. This is, you can see in the diagram, this is the labyrinthine segment, and this has a shortest root, approximately 5 millimeter in length, and direction, if you see the direction of this segment is directly anteriorly, medially, and direct toward the middle canal fossa. And at the end of this labyrinthine segment, there is a bulge, which we call it first genu, and then after that the facial turns immediately backwards, and it makes an approximate angle of 60 degree here. So this is first bend is called as genuculate ganglion, first genuculate ganglion, and from here your nerve, secretomotor nerve, greater superficial petrosal nerve, which goes into the pterygopalatine ganglion, and then from there it innervates the lacrimal gland. So this labyrinthine part is the shortest, and also the diameter of this part is very less as compared to other part. Now second part is the horizontal part. So this is horizontal, this we call it horizontal because if you see the course, this looks particularly horizontal to us, and then this forms a bulge in the medial wall of the middle ear cavity. So this forms a bulge here, and then at the approximately length of this is around 10 to 12 millimeter, and then at the end of the horizontal part, it again bends downward to start the last part, which is we call it vertical part, and then it exits through the fallopian canal. There are two branches arises from the vertical part. One is the nerve 2 stapedial muscle, which contracts when on contraction, which will pull the stapes outward, and then so that to prevent any acoustic trauma. And just before the stylomuscular foramen, the chordae tympani nerve arises, and then it, which further supplies the taste sensation to anterior tongue. So these are the three parts, and the length of this vertical part is also 12 to 14 millimeter in length. And finally, when we exit to stylomuscular foramen, there is a small, maybe 1 to 2 millimeter length, and then it exits into the, enters into the parotid gland, and then after some time it divides into superior as well as inferior division. Superior division gives rise to temporal, zygomatic, upper buccal, and then inferior division gives rise to lower buccal, mandibular, and cervical branches. So this is the course within the temporal bone. And now we have to be little versed with the relationship of this facial nerve, and you can see from this diagram, this is the labyrinthine segment, this is the first genu, then the greater superficial petrosal nerve, this is the horizontal part, second genu, and then this is the vertical part. So this one has a relation, as I told you already, the horizontal part has a relation with the medial wall of the middle ear cavity. So in the middle wall of middle ear cavity, we have oval window, we have round window, we have stapedial muscles are there, and then important thing is that this part, as the whole of the part is in the fallopian canal, it can, this canal from fallopian can be dehiscent in most commonly up to 50%, most commonly in the horizontal part. And then horizontal part, the vertical part is related to the posterior canal wall of the external canal. Now extratemporal, after exiting from the stylomastoid foramen, it has a maybe around 1 to 2 millimeter of the course, and then it enter into the parotid gland and divide the parotid gland into superficial and deep part. Superficial part, again the superior part of this trunk of the facial nerve, it divide again into zygomatic and temporal part, and upper buccal also arises from here, and then inferior division is lower buccal, and then cervical as well as cervical branch, which is the thinnest branch of them. And this arrangement of the facial nerve, if you see, is known as pes ansaris within the temporal bone. Now, as I already told, we have three ganglion here. So these ganglion, they are related to the parasympathetic secretomotor as well as to the lacrimal as well as to the submandibular ganglion. The first ganglion is situated between your labyrinthine and the horizontal part. This we call it geniculate ganglion, and from here arises greater superficial petrosal nerve, and ultimately it links with the pterygopalatine ganglion, and then it gives a branch to the lacrimal gland, which controls the lacrimation. Also, one branch goes to palate and the nasal gland, and controls the secretion of the palate and the nasal gland. Second ganglion, which is related to facial nerve, is related to chorda tympani, and then through the lingual nerve, this is the submandibular ganglion here, and this submandibular ganglion, it controls the secretion of the submandibular gland. The importance of this is related to Bell's palsy, which we will be describing in next lecture. The Bell's palsy is a idiopathic viral infection where there is a unilateral facial nerve paralysis is there. So that is thought to be the virus might be harboring or residing within the geniculate ganglion. So whenever the patient's immunity is down, they get reactivated, causes swelling of the facial nerve, and as this nerve is within a canal, so it cannot expand, it resulting in the facial palsy, which is known as Bell's palsy. Now regarding the branches, so sensory and motor roots are there. So motor root through it innervates the muscle of the facial expression, which is like orbiculus oculi muscle, orbiculus oris muscle, buccinator muscle, and nerve to stapedius, and one branch also supplies the posterior belly of digastric muscle. So this is the motor root, and then the sensory, it supplies the part of the concha and part of external canal, and then branches which arise from the like secretory motor, they through greater petrosal nerve and through chorda tympani controls the secretion of the lacrimation as well as submandibular salivary flow. And regarding the blood supply, it has different parts, a different supply. The first part, intracranial part, has blood supply mainly from the branches of anterior inferior cerebral artery as well as labyrinthine artery. So labyrinthine artery, as we know, this is the end artery, and if there is any occlusion of labyrinthine artery, can lead to lesion, vascular necrosis of that part of the facial nerve. And second part, intertemporal, receives blood supply from superior petrosal and stylomastoid artery, and the last part, extratemporal, receive branches from the posterior ocular artery. So functions of this nerve, as well, very important is the facial expression, eye closure, swallowing, and muscle of facial expression. And secondly, acoustic reflex is mediated through stapedial muscle, and on contraction of pitch, there will be pulling of the stapes muscle, stapedial bone, and that will dampen the sound to prevent the acoustic trauma. And secretory to your lacrimal gland as well as submandibular gland. It also serves the function of taste sensation for anterior 2/3 of tongue and lacrimation. So this is all about the facial nerve, and in next lecture we will be describing over the lesion of the facial nerve.